Okay. Right. You're not. This is for John Solomon's Christmas marathon. Now, is this on? Is he going to do one of those things where I'm not allowed to make introductory remarks? It has to be just the story or the poem. I don't want anything. I don't want. I'm going to. I'm angry about it already. I'm gonna slap a lawsuit on John Solomon so fast it'll the worst Abbott and Costello routine ever. I just want to make you the bad guy because someone has to be the bad guy for me to so I can blame if this doesn't go well. How could this go poorly? What would be the worst result of this? That the seven people who are up at 7 in the morning or whenever the hell he's going to bury this thing. So anyway, I want to preface the story by saying that when I was a small boy, I was raised in a Jewish household, but it was a Reformed Jewish household, and it wasn't nobody in our family ever resonated much with the Jewish religion, and I thought that was normal for like most Jews. Like I thought all Jews hated their temple, and when I was a little kid, I'd seen a movie, A Christmas Carol with Alastair Sims. It could have been the one. I think the first one I saw was with Alastair Sims because that's the best one. The Christmas Carol, or is it called A Christmas Carol? I don't know. I didn't know there'd be so much pressure on this. Now I'm all of a sudden trying to get on one of those story shows, right? What are those shows? Shout it out, bring it down, Storyville, where you pretend that you were some. What am I putting them down for? Because I can't complete my story? It's ridiculous. We didn't have Christmas like in my house, and our celebration of Hanukkah was tepid. It was just boring, and my parents weren't into it. So some years they would do it, some years they weren't, and they were going through their own things. And I also want to say that my mother later on in life became a Quaker. My mother is actually the most spiritual person in my family. She became a Quaker when I was 16 years old, and it was the most spiritual thing that she had done. It was kind of a cool thing. And so she seemed to get the spiritual. I got spirituality from my mother first because my father was more like there is no God. He didn't say there wasn't any God, but he said, you know what, don't get he was also like, don't get your hopes up. I realized recently that this anecdote, which is one of the anchor anecdotes in my life, anchor traumatic experiences in my life, which is why on my podcast, Thought Spiral with Josh Elvis Weinstein, he laughs. He has always mocked me about this story, like from the first time. So this is the anecdote I remembered through therapy, through years of therapy. See, when I told my therapist this story, she, of course, almost cried, like my wife Susan when I first told her the story, or most people who have a heart. But Josh Elvis Weinstein, not. I still think it's funny that he mocks me, but I remember my friend. I don't remember his name because I may be confusing him with my imaginary friend Stu. No, I was arguing with one of my neighbor friends, and I was saying Santa Claus is real. He goes, "Are you stupid?" It's one of those things. Like so, we go up behind my mother. She's doing the dishes. So I look up at her and I say, Mom, I'm having an argument here with Schminky. And he says there's no Santa Claus. Can you tell him there's a Santa Claus? And this is what my mother says. There is no Santa Claus. What, Mom? I don't even think she repeated it. Boom. Okay. So that sets up this anecdote, which is all part of the same anecdote. And I certainly hope it gets used on the greatest hits of the Christmas marathon. That's what I'm angling for. So it was very inconsistent. We had stockings that were even made from us from a young age. So there must have been some Christmases where there was joy, but I was too scared to ask my mother anything or ask my father anything either. Very inconsistent. One year we'd have something, and then it must have been after a year that we had nothing, or a couple of years. And again, remember, I'm not asking. It's don't ask, don't tell. You would be afraid to say, Mom, are we gonna have a Christmas? Yeah, we're Jews, or whatever the thing we would say. You're a Jew. I mean, you wouldn't ever ask the question. So you could only understand it by finding out. So I said to her, it was before Christmas. So I said, Mom, what did you think? I said, if I put the stocking on the wall, do you think Santa will leave something in the stocking? And she said to me, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Now, here's the thing. I would read any positivity from my mother as enlightenment or a message for, here comes something good for a change. I still think I had a few days of just not getting any sleep about, but I'm still not sure. I don't think I for sure was walking around the house going, hey, how's everything going? 3 days from now, we're swimming in Archie comics. My mother was making some kind of Jewish point until she fled the Jews as quickly as she could. Quickly as she could. Um, I just realized as soon as I left the temple, she became a Quaker. I mean, Borchu es Adonai, what that's all about. I mean, the anecdote to me, it was always the saddest thing that ever happened to me in my life until Josh came along. And Josh gave me a Christmas present. And the present he gave me was two stockings. And one says, give it. And the other stocking says, a shot. And I have to say, I cried with laughter more than anybody would from an Ashton Kutcher prank when they get the punchline. The Ashton Kutcher prank. Why do I still do Ashton